So let's start with the fruit now. Now you know that this part of the gynoecium is ovary. Now this ovary, it results in the formation of fruit. The ripened ovary, it represents fruit, and generally this fruit, it is formed after the fertilization. तो fertilization के बाद जो ovary है वो fruit में convert हो जाएगी, and the wall of ovary, it is forming fruit wall. It will form fruit wall. And now this fruit wall, it is known as pericarp. Now the fruit wall, that is the pericarp, it can be differentiated into the three layers. The outermost layer, it is known as epicarp. Then the middle one is mesocarp. And the innermost one, that is endocarp. Epi, meso and endocarp. The three-layer distinguishment can be present in the pericarp. Inside the ovary, there is presence of ovules, and after the fertilization, the ovules, they will be converted into the seeds. So now here I will be discussing types of fruit. तो यहाँ पर हम discuss करेंगे types of fruits on the basis of their formation. So now let's discuss the types of fruit on the basis of formation. Three types. The first is true fruit. Now the true fruit, it is formed from superior ovary, from the superior gynoecium, and this fruit, it is formed after fertilization, and in this fertilized fruit, there is presence of seeds. तो अगर फ्रूट बनेगा सुपीरियर ओवरी से आफ्टर द फर्टिलाइजेशन, देन इट इज नोन एज ट्रू फ्रूट. द अनदर नेम फॉर द ट्रू फ्रूट, इट इज ऑल्सो नोन एज eucarp. Now this eucarp, it is present in the mango. Mango is a true fruit. Another example we can write here, that is coconut. Now the next category, that is false fruit. Now the false fruit, it is formed from inferior ovary after the fertilization, and in this fruit there is presence of seeds. Inferior ovary से fruit बनेगा after the fertilization. Now in the case of the false fruit, other parts along with the ovary, they are also present, like there can be presence of the perianth, thalamus and peduncle. तो इस fruit के अंदर other parts present है, जैसे peduncle. The peduncle is edible in the case of the cashew nut. Then thalamus. You know the thalamus is edible in the apple, right? And the fused perianth, this is in the morus alba, that is mulberry. So it's the false fruit, the other parts, they are also involved. So this type of the fruit, it is also known as pseudocarp. The true fruit को हमने कहा eucarp, and the false fruit is also known as pseudocarp. Now the last category of the fruit, that is the parthenocarpic fruit. Now the parthenocarpic fruit is the one which is formed without fertilization. बगैर फर्टिलाइजेशन के अगर फ्रूट बनेगा तो इसको हम कहेंगे पार्थिनोकार्पिक फ्रूट. Now, generally in the parthenocarpic fruit, the seeds, they are absent. And one example for the parthenocarpic fruit, that is banana. Banana के अंदर present है natural parthenocarpy. Now, the parthenocarpy can also be induced with the help of chemicals. बनाना में तो नेचुरल पार्थिनोकार्पी है, बट द केमिकल्स दे कैन ऑल्सो बी यूटिलाइज्ड फॉर इंड्यूसिंग द पार्थिनोकार्पी लाइक ऑक्सिन एंड जिबरेलिक एसिड. Auxin, gibberellic acids, it's very well known to you. They are the growth hormones and they can be utilized for the formation of the parthenocarpic fruit. So now I will be discussing types of fruits in detail. So here I will be dealing with the three categories. That is simple fruit, aggregate fruit, and composite fruit. Now the simple fruits, it is formed from a single flower. एक फ्लावर से बनेगा और फ्लावर के अंदर जो गाइनोशियम प्रेजेंट है, जो ओवरी प्रेजेंट है, दैट कैन बी मोनोकार्पलरी टू पॉलीकार्पलरी. सो दिस फ्रूट इट इज फॉर्म फ्रॉम सिंगल फ्लावर. Gynoecium ranges from monocarpellary to polycarpellary. पर जब भी गाइनोशियम के अंदर एक से ज्यादा कार्पल प्रेजेंट होंगे, these carpels they are fused. So when the carpels they are more than one, the carpels they are fused. It is very well known to all of you that the fused condition it is known as syncarpus. Syncarpus gynoecium. Now this simple fruit it can be divided into the two categories. That is dry fruit and fleshy fruit. Now in the case of fleshy fruit, generally the pericarp which is present, that is differentiated into the three layers. We have discussed that three layers are epicarp, मीजो एंड एंडोकार्प. तो फ्लैशी फ्रूट के अंदर क्या होगा, जो पेरिकार्प है वो तीन लेयर्स के अंदर डिस्टिंग्विश्ड है जनरली. सो द थ्री लेयर्स इन द पेरिकार्प दे आर प्रेजेंट. In the case of the dry fruit, there is presence of non-juicy pericarp. Yes, non-juicy pericarp present है. The distinguishment of the three layers in the pericarp, now it is absent. Now this dry fruit, it is further divided into the three categories. First one is indehiscent. So now what will happen in the indehiscent fruit? Indehiscent fruit के अंदर the splitting or the bursting of the fruit is absent. तो मेच्योरिटी पर फ्रूट जो है वो स्प्लिट नहीं होगा, बर्स्ट नहीं होगा. यहां पर जो सीड्स का डिप्रेशन होगा, जो सीड्स का लिबरेशन होगा, दैट इज ड्यू टू द डिकम्पोजिशन और द डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द पेरिकार्प. सो व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय indehiscent? Indehiscent means the splitting or the bursting of the fruit is absent. And if the splitting or the bursting of the fruit it is present, so simply we can call this fruit as dehiscent fruit. फ्रूट की स्प्लिटिंग होगी मेच्योरिटी के ऊपर ऑटोमेटिकली एंड विच विल रिजल्ट इन द डिस्पर्सल ऑफ सीड. Now there is one third category here which is between dehiscent and indehiscent. The category which is between the dehiscent and indehiscent, this category, it is known as schizocarpic one. It is in between the dehiscent and indehiscent. So this is regarding the simple fruit. तो simple fruit के अंदर हम पढ़ेंगे dry, fleshy, and in the dry I will be discussing all these three categories. Now in the fleshy I will be discussing drupe, berry, pepo, pome, Hesperidium, Blosta, and Amphisarca. Right? Now coming to the aggregate fruit. Now the aggregate fruit, it is again formed from a single flower. Single flower, but now in this flower there is presence of apocarpus condition. So it is very well known to all of you that apocarpus condition means now the carpels which are present in the flower, in the gynoecium, they are free. Now let's say this is stalk of a flower, right? That is the pedicel, और इस pedicel के ऊपर present है apocarpus gynoecium, apocarpus condition. So you can see here, यहाँ पर मैंने carpels form करे हैं and now these carpels they are free. Now what will happen after the fertilization? Fertilization के बाद जो हर एक carpel है, हर एक कार्पल जो है ये स्ट्रक्चर बनाएगा. दैट स्ट्रक्चर विच इज फॉर्म दैट इज नोन एज फ्रूटलेट. तो इसका मतलब एक फ्लावर के अंदर बहुत सारे फ्रूटलेट्स बनेंगे. सो दिस ग्रुप ऑफ फ्रूटलेट्स विच बिलोंग टू अ सिंगल फ्लावर, दिस रिप्रेजेंट्स एग्रीगेट फ्रूट. So there is formation of group of fruitlets, and this group of fruitlets they represent aggregate fruit, and it is also known as etario. Right? Now coming to the composite. Now the another name for the composite fruit, it is also known as multiple fruit. And now in this case the fruit is formed from complete inflorescence. अब यहां पर जो फ्रूट बनेगा वो entire inflorescence से फॉर्म होगा. Now in the composite fruit I will be dealing with the two categories here. One is Syconus and the another one is Sorosis. Now the Syconus is a fruit which is formed from hypanthodium inflorescence. Yes, we have discussed that inflorescence in the case of fig, peepal and banyan. So what is the Syconus fruit? This fruit, it is formed from hypanthodium. Inflorescence. Then the Sorosis. Sorosis, it is a fruit which is formed from spike, catkin and स्पाडिक्स. तो यहां पर ये जो डिफरेंट कैटेगरीज ऑफ फ्रूट है हमें यहां पर डिस्कस करना है इन दी डिटेल. So I will be dealing with the simple fruit that is formed from single flower and the gynoecium is syncarpous. Then aggregate fruit formed from a single flower but the gynoecium is apocarpous, that is the carpels are free. And third category, that is the composite fruit. Now the fruit, it is formed from entire inflorescence. So first of all, I will be discussing here simple fruit, and in the simple fruit, the category which I will be dealing, that is dry fruit, which is indehiscent. So now I will be starting with the simple fruit in the detail. In the simple, I will be discussing dry fruit in which the splitting, bursting is absent, that is indehiscent type. So here I will be discussing 5 categories. The first one is caryopsis fruit. Now the caryopsis fruit, it is formed from superior gynoecium. And this gynoecium, it is monocarpellary. Caryopsis fruit के अंदर जो एक main feature present है, that is the pericarp, which is known as the fruit wall. It is fused with the seed coat. Pericarp and the seed coat, they are fused, and the fusion which is present here, that is complete fusion. So there is a complete fusion of the pericarp with the seed coat. This type of the fruit, it is present in the members of Poaceae family. So for this example is maize, wheat, rice. To explain this fruit, I will be making here diagram of maize. तो maize के अंदर ये मैं caryopsis fruit form कर रही हूं. Yes. So this is the outermost covering, that is the fruit wall, that is known as pericarp. For the pericarp, I will be writing P. अब इस पूरे fruit के अंदर सिर्फ एक seed present है. Inside the fruit, there is presence of only one large size seed. And the pericarp and the seed coat, they are fused. There is no distinguishment of the seed coat because the fusion is present. Now the major part of the fruit, it is occupied by the endosperm. So it is very well known to you, endosperm, this is a nutritive tissue. तो सीड का जो मेजर पार्ट है उसके अंदर प्रेजेंट है एंडोस्पर्म और यहां पर इस साइड पर प्रेजेंट है फ्यूचर प्लांट, दैट इज एम्ब्रियो. अब मेज के अंदर द पार्ट विच इज एडिबल इन द फ्रूट दैट वी हैव टू डिस्कस. नाउ इन द केस ऑफ द मेज द एंटायर फ्रूट इज एडिबल. So if we look into the edible part, तो मेज के अंदर पूरा fruit edible है. Right? So for the edible, I will be writing E here. Now after the caryopsis, let's see what is the condition in the next category of fruit. That is achene. Achene fruit, it is formed from superior gynoecium. In the gynoecium, again there is presence of monocarpellary condition. Now this is present in mirabilis. So I will be making the diagram of the fruit to explain what is the characteristic feature here. So this is fruit wall. तो ये मैंने यहां पर फ्रूट वॉल बनाई है. सो यस, सो दिस इज फ्रूट वॉल और इस फ्रूट वॉल के अंदर मैं बना रही हूं सीड. यस, सिंगल सीड इज प्रेजेंट इनसाइड द फ्रूट वॉल. राइट? So this is fruit wall, that is pericarp and this is the covering of seed, that is the seed coat. And you can see here कि pericarp और seed coat की fusion हो रही है, but now the fusion is restricted only here. The complete fusion of the pericarp and the seed coat is absent. So Caryopsis or Achene, both of them, they are same because they are formed from superior gynoecium, which is monocarpellary, single seeded condition in the fruit, but in this case the fusion of the pericarp and the seed coat is complete, and here this fusion is restricted only in the lower zone. Now coming to the next one, that is Cypsela. In the Cypsela, now the fruit is formed from inferior gynoecium. Now this gynoecium, it is bicarpellary, and this fruit now it is present in the members of Asteraceae family. So now it is very well known to you, Asteraceae, that is the sunflower family. So here we can write one example, sunflower, another one, Sonchus, then Paraxacum, and Zinnia. In the Cypsela, I am forming the fruit here. तो ये मैंने फ्रूट बनाया है और यहाँ पर फ्रूट में कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर क्या प्रेजेंट है, that over the fruit there is presence of persistent calyx, and this calyx is forming a hairy structure. This presence of persistent hairy calyx, this persistent hairy calyx, it is known as pappus. So now you can easily guess what will be the function of this pappus. This pappus, it helps in the dispersal of fruit. It helps in the dispersal of seeds. So when in the fruit, there will be dispersal with the help of this structure that is known as pappus. This type of dispersal, it is known as parachute mechanism. तो अगर फ्रूट का डिस्पर्सल होगा विद द हेल्प ऑफ द पेपर्स, दिस मैकेनिज्म ऑफ द फ्रूट डिस्पर्सल, इट इज नोन एज पैराशूट मैकेनिज्म. So after the Cypsela, next category of the dry indehiscent fruit. So now the next one is Samara. Samara, it is again formed from superior gynoecium. और ये जो fruit है, this is a winged fruit. Yes, the fruit, it possesses wings, and these wings which are present in the Samara, they are formed from pericarp, that is the fruit wall. तो जो pericarp है, ये expanded है, and after the expansion, it forms the wings, and these wings, they help in the dispersal of the seed, dispersal of the fruit. Now the Samara, it is formed in heptach. Another example for this is Dioscorea. Now coming to the last category of dry indehiscent fruit. That is nut. Now the nut, it is formed from superior, or it can be formed from inferior gynoecium. Now nut के अंदर जो gynoecium है, it can be monocarpellary or it can range till polycarpellary condition. And in the case of the nut, one important feature which is associated with the pericarp, that pericarp is hard. It is stony. It can be woody, spiny, hard, stony pericarp. If it is associated with the dry indehiscent fruit, then that fruit is known as nut. Now, in the nut, one example which I am citing here, that is cashew nut. Cashew nut के अंदर जो part edible है, the edible part, it is represented by thalamus. Yes, fleshy thalamus, along with that cotyledons. The next example is oak. The scientific name for the oak is quercus. You also write the scientific name for the cashew nut, that is anacardium. Another example, very important example for this is lychee. Lychee is also known as marking nut. तो लीची के अंदर अब हमने देखना है कि कौन सा पार्ट है जो एडिबल है. Now, here I am forming a ovule. Yes. तो यहां पर मैं ovule का डायग्राम बना रही हूं. So we have discussed the diagram of ovule while studying the plant kingdom. Right? Now, in the ovule, this part which is present, this part is known as funicle. This is known as stalk. और ये जो यहाँ पर structures present हैं, these are known as integuments. It's very well known to you. Now, sometimes what happens that from the funicle, a covering arises, and this covering, a structure arises, and this structure, it covers the ovule. तो फ्यूनिकल से एक आउटग्रोथ अराइज हुई और ये जो आउटग्रोथ है ये ओव्यूल को कवर कर रही है. दिस आउटग्रोथ विच इज कवरिंग द ओव्यूल, इट इज नोन एज एरल. This is known as aril. Now you please see here. What are these structures? These structures, they are integument. So this is first integument. This is second integument. And the lychee and the aril, it is giving the appearance of third integument. So the another name for the aril, it is also known as third integument. और लीची के अंदर जो part edible है, that part is aril. So you please write this information. The edible part in the lychee, it represents aril or it is third integument. So here I have discussed 5 types of fruit. Now the first one, that is the caryopsis, one characteristic feature, that is the pericarp. It is completely fused with the seed coat. Then the another one is achene. Achene के अंदर fusion between the pericarp and the seed coat is present, but that fusion is not complete. In the case of the Sapsana, there is presence of hairy persistent calyx that is known as pappus, which helps in the seed dispersal. Then next category which I discussed, that is samara. Samara के अंदर जो fruit है, that is winged fruit, and these wings, they are formed due to the expansion of pericarp. Now the last one which I have discussed, that is nut. अब नट के अंदर जो एक characteristic feature है, that the pericarp, it is hard, it is stony or it is woody. You please keep this in mind that जो true nut है, it is a dry fruit, it is indehiscent, and the pericarp should be hard, stony or woody in nature. Now, in the case of the nut, the example which I have cited here, that is and one example is the lychee, then cashew nut and oak. अब जब हम नट की बात करते हैं तो हमारे माइंड के अंदर कुछ और एग्जाम्पल्स जो आते हैं, दैट इज almond, then it is walnut, but you please keep this in mind that the almond and walnut, they are not true nut. Yes, they belong to a different category of fruit. तो almond और walnut किस category of fruit को belong करते हैं? This I will be discussing in the next lecture. Thank you so much.